songs are slow and sad. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Welcome to the Sad Song Queens podcast, where we dive deep into the songs that make us cry. I'm Laura Webb.
And I'm Lindsay Wolfington. Today we are talking with Abraham Alexander about his song, Xavier.
Born in Greece, where he spent the early part of his life, Abraham was transplanted to Texas in the early 2000s at age 11. His family wanted to escape the ever-present racial tension of his birthplace.
Adopted in Texas after losing his mother in a car accident with a drunk driver, Abraham dove into sports and set his sights on a career in soccer. When a torn ACL sidelined those ambitions, a friend handed him a guitar, and songs began pouring out of him. After friends and family urged him, he went to London to pursue songwriting full-time.
His debut album, Seasons, released in 2023, showcases the singer-songwriter's beguiling voice and graceful acoustic guitar work. He melds various genres on the album: folk, rock, R&B, gospel, and even electronic music. And the songs touch on themes of loss, redemption, anguish, and joy.
Most recently, Alexander's collaboration with Adrian Quesada on the song Like a Bird from the A24 film Sing Sing was nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Song and was nominated and won the Guild of Music Supervisors Award for Best Song Written and or Recorded for a Film.
We met Abraham at the Guild of Music Supervisor Awards, and we were charmed by his authenticity and enthusiasm. A friend and fellow music supervisor, Madonna Wade Reed, suggested this song to us for the podcast, and we are excited to discuss it with him today.
So grab those tissues and let's get into it, because we all need a good cry. And now, Xavier by Abraham Alexander.
Times I get carried away like a leaf in a sea on a wave. My life keeps passing each day, praying his memories won't sway. The pictures on the wall will change and mentions of your name will pain, but in the morning will I see you again? Oh, I pray. Amen. Amen. I pray, I pray, I pray, I pray. Amen. Yes, I pray, I pray. Oh, my brother, my friend, why won't you answer when I call your name? Are the coverings you lay on weigh you down? Or the shallow Red Sea you swim in left you drown? Yes, I know the pictures on the wall will change and mentions of your name will pain, but in the morning will I see you again? Oh, I pray. Amen. Amen. I pray, I pray, I pray, I pray. Amen. Amen. Yes, I pray, I pray. Amen. Amen. Yes, I pray, I pray.
Welcome to the podcast, Abraham. We're recording this in the morning, and this is such like a beautiful way to start the day.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's still morning here in Texas, so that's nice.
Okay.
I was listening to the song on my walk while I was walking my dog this morning too, and I was just to get in the headspace, and we just listened to it again. But I was tearing up on my walk, and it's just it just is so beautiful, and it immediately grabs you. And there were many songs we wanted to talk about with you, but we decided it's so hard to pick because there's so many beautiful and touching ones. But this one really grabbed us. So
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I think for me, this song sort of solidifies the essence and the personification that I wanted for this album. And the fact that it's the first one is not a coincidence. And I'm so glad when people resonate with that tune so much. So thank you for wanting to talk about this.
Yeah. One of the things we like to do is give you our theory on the song, which
Yes.
this one's it's kind of obvious, but well, no, I guess it shouldn't be so obvious. Fellow music supervisor Madonna Wade Reed
Hmm.
suggested this song as we've been doing this podcast. She was saying, "You know which song you have to do?" So we knew ahead of time what the song was about, but it also
Mm,
there's still many things we want to discuss about it. We know it's about the death of your brother,
yeah.
who was your adopted brother, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like some of the things that more just sort of we're going to tell you what we love about it.
Yeah.
um, so what line gets me every time is the pictures on the wall will change, mentions of
Mm,
your name will pain. I've gone through loss too. I've lost a family member, and I think if I have to guess, I guess sort of asking what was in your head, but is that sort of how time passes on, and that your loss is still there, right? But like other people around you are moving on, but you're still this pain will never go away. Is
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And I didn't really my family is so big, and our family dynamic is especially me is so strange but beautiful. And I felt like just growing up, like the pictures on the wall kept on changing every single year, that it looked slightly different for me. And then now here's another massive change, and I'm not quite sure. I wasn't sure how to comprehend it all. And I just what I kept seeing are the walls around me, and it was our family photos. And now saying that here's here's another change, and just knowing that people come and point at the wall and be like, oh, who's this or who's that, and just starting that grief process back again. Or I wasn't sure what it would look like or what the emotions would be, but I just knew that there would be something, there would be some form of emotion. And at the moment it was pain.
yeah. And also that there's these people that'll come into your life who never got to know him, right?
Yeah, precisely.
And that I think that is so well, people who've gone through the loss, like that's I feel universal of like, yeah, there's just these little I call them like little micro cuts or like little all the thousand paper cuts.
For sure.
Do you I guess there's like, I don't know. There's sort of two schools of thought of the like mentions of your name. Like, do
Mm.
you find that you have a hard time talking about him or hearing about him, or do you like talking about him and
Yeah.
That's such a great question. And when it happened, it was hard.
yeah.
With me being adopted as well, and he was black, and not my whole family is. Before he was 16 years old, he was sent to 20 something different homes, and so I was seeing my reflection in him so much, and we saw that about each other in a bit. And I think in the beginning I didn't quite know how to talk about it or how to comprehend the loss. And my family would be asking, like, how do you feel, like, what are you thinking? And I didn't know what to say. I couldn't even shed after the the incident happened, and we can talk about
Yeah. And
it,
whatever
right?
you're comfortable to, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And just the incident, and I'd shed such heavy tears because this was sort of the second family loss that I've experienced. I didn't, and because the first one was so traumatic, that this one sort of left me so speechless of it's happening again. And so I didn't know what to say, and I couldn't say. And so in the beginning, it was so difficult. And now I find it sort of liberating in the fact that I get to sow a seed of Xavier in every place that I go, and everywhere, and everyone that I talk about him about, or talk about the incident about. They say that someone, I don't want to butcher it, that you die the day your name stops being mentioned.
Oh,
Right.
And so
yeah.
I didn't. I wanted his story to keep on living, and just the notion of what is living a full life, and what does that look like? And if someone dies young, does that mean they didn't get to live a full life? By
Yeah.
whose interpretation is that? And in the beginning, I was saying that he didn't, and he didn't get to redeem his story. And now I feel like just my thought process has changed, and I feel that he did, and his purpose might not look like what mine is, but he will absolutely and has absolutely lived a full life, and his name will continue to be echoed
Yeah.
wherever I am.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Even just that, yeah, everywhere you go, you get to say his name, and that we all have this, and that, yeah, we all know it too, right? Yeah,
Yes.
I'm of the thought of like, I love talking about my dad, and he was such a big part of my life, and none of it goes away. You're always
Yes.
gonna,
Yes.
so I'm like, no, let's talk about it. He's hilarious. Like, I'll tell you funny stories, you know?
Yes.
I love that.
How I was going to ask, how old was Xavier and how old were you when he passed or was
I was
killed?
28 and he was 18 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was again that juxtaposition of he come like we had so many similarities, especially his upbringing in regards to he has a Nigerian heritage and I did, and sort of how we were portrayed and how we were wanting to portray. Those two are not necessarily synonymous. Yeah, it was so interesting, and so I felt a lot of guilt of I've been going to pursue this dream of mine, or I've been so absent that I could have been a difference in making a difference in his life, much more than I did. And so there
right.
was that, or was I too hard on him in certain moments, where he was
Yeah.
just being a kid. And so like all these questions started to plague my mind. And yeah,
Hmm. Your music career hadn't fully started
no,
yet.
not at all.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, after, right. Okay. Because I was sort of
Mhm.
like, right. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Was this one of the first songs you ever wrote?
It wasn't, it was, I mean, actually, yes, because I went to London shortly after that, and so this was probably right in the middle, and I didn't necessarily finish the song until after the entire album had been finished, and I knew that something was missing, and I wanted to sort of finish the song, and so it's there's two phases of it, but uh, when it happened, and my family were asking me like, how do I feel because I was sort of emotionless in a way, and I didn't know what to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
In a few months afterwards, I played them this song, and we were all sitting in a room, and I was like, "Can I show you something?" And I brought the guitar out and started sharing this, and I mean, everyone was in tears, and I was like, "This is how I feel," and this just, I say, how many times do I get carried away?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and just that of I don't have any control of my life, and I don't have any control of these moments, and I just kept feeling like I was being dragged like a leaf does in the vastness of an ocean. I just felt lost, and just telling those things made them realize the commotion that I was feeling and the emptiness and the what's the word, powerlessness that I felt.
Right.
And yeah, they just sort of, then a beautiful conversation started afterwards, and we all embraced each other. But they just didn't know and for them, like I had always been able to express myself
Mm-hmm.
and articulate in ways, and this was sort of the first moment to where I couldn't. And I think they were worried as well of just they sort of knew that I was chasing for something, and this tragicness happened, and they were wanting to help. We were wanting to heal each other, and I wasn't participating in that because I didn't know how I felt.
Right.
So yeah,
Do you feel that this gave you some catharsis after making it?
absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It was such a breath, like such a deep breath, and not just that, but I think it was healing not just for me but for others as well. I think I'm such an empath to where I have to see others heal, and I take on that burden. And part of it was, a lot of them hadn't dealt with loss before, and I have, and sort of like, okay, how do you deal with this? Well, this is so different, like losing your mother and losing your brother are not necessarily the same weight. And not that one's bigger than the other, but they take a piece of you, a different piece of you. And so them asking me questions of how do you heal from this? I don't know. Like there isn't a way, but I couldn't say it. And so it was a breath, it was an exhale, and I felt that my scars started to heal again.
Wow.
Then having conversations about the song was also healing because I felt others' burden lift as well. Whether it's someone experiencing loss and we can have a moment of sharing in the pain and sharing between the cups of sorrow and joy of memories was a beautiful moment, and it just made the world a really smaller place for me.
Oh, I love
So
that.
yeah, it
I
was
mean, I
healing.
feel it listening where I feel like obviously our pain's not the same, but I feel you've been there in that loss, and like it was like a salve for me. It's a salve for me. Yeah, it's really beautiful. I had a question about why won't you answer when I call your name? Was this sort of that you had been praying to him, hoping, and you just felt like he wasn't there, or?
So I get it's a long-winded answer. I get the call. I was actually at church one day. It was a Thursday. I get a call, and uh, it was my family, and they said, "Hey, something had happened to Xavier, and that I should go to this address." And so I look at the address, and it's 20 something minutes away from me, and I get there in like 11 minutes. Like I was going so fast, and I exit off the highway, and I turn left, in front of me was the darkest alley that I'd ever seen, and then take a right on that street, and it just lit up like a Christmas tree. And it lit up like a Christmas tree because of the fire trucks and the ambulance and the police. And just a few feet away from me, like I could see the tarp over him. And so it was me sort of calling out to him, and just like this can't it all felt so it felt like a dream. It felt like I was in some type of illusion, and seeing my folks come over and like sort of hold me up, and us trying to hold each other up, and just sort of calling out to him, and him not responding. I was like, this can't be real. Like this can't be real. Like this is a movie. And yeah, and just literally me calling out to him for him to stop the charades. And he was a prankster, and so this had to be another prank. This had to be uh Mr. Beast type of thing, right? Like, and it wasn't. And so that's that line. And then the next one is, are the coverings you lay on weigh you down? And it's because of
Okay.
I could see the tarp, or the shallow Red Sea you lie on left you drowned. And
Oh, I didn't even think. I was thinking the literal Red Sea. Oh,
yeah,
man.
so
You have a way of making it very poetic of
mm,
this pain, because there's like different levels of it, right? Like in terms of the songwriting. Wow,
yeah,
but that's wow, knowing that. Oh my goodness. Do you feel like closer to him? Do you feel now like he's with you?
I hear his laugh all the time.
Yeah.
I hear it. He had a Windex bottle kind of laugh. When you spray it, and it's just like the cackle, and I
Uh,
hear it all the time. And if I hear someone laughing that way, or I start laughing, and someone just makes a comment about my laugh, I'd be like, man, you should have heard my brother Xavier's laugh. And just so he's more audible now than he was before. And so
wow.
in that sense, absolutely, yeah, he's not gone. He just took a closer seat next to me.
Yeah, he probably loves hearing your song performed all and played, you know? He's probably up
Yeah,
there like, that's me.
there you go. It, I love doing that, and I love going especially if I haven't been to a city before, then I love playing that song because he loved to travel, and now he gets to
Oh,
be in a
yeah.
space that he's never been. So I did a tour with the Lumineers, and European tour. It's coming up to be 2 years since the album came out, which is kind of wild for
Wow.
me. And so we were in Europe, and I'm listening to the song as we're traveling. Like, everyone's on headphones, and we're going places, and I'm watching videos of him just laughing, just like you're now in Spain, and listen to the song again and be like, you're now in Italy, and then you're now in Amsterdam,
I
and
love that.
yeah. So, but yeah, he's closer, and I feel like the people that we lose are close to us in ways that they could never be before.
I agree.
And yeah, it's a beautiful and healing thing, and I know for sure that the physical body that he was in was just restricting him from the freedom that he could and is living right now.
How old were you when your mother passed?
I was 11.
Oh,
So right after moving from Greece?
Yeah, truly right after I moved from Greece, and she was my best friend, generally my best friend, and I wasn't even close with my siblings at the time at all, and now our relationship is so beautiful because of the loss, that our bond just strengthened. But it was, yeah, we just moved to the States, and we were living with people that we knew from Greece. And there was a big, strong African community that was in Greece. It was small, but it was so close knit. And one of them moved to the States and Texas. And so we lived with them for a bit. And then we had just moved to our own apartment. And so it was sort of this big celebration of us, like, oh, we've got our own place, and she's cooking in the kitchen, and there's music being played, and it was sort of this big celebration for things. And she was a pharmacist and just passed her exams and is going to work now, and she just got her license. My birth dad was sort of taking her back and forth to work, and or he will sit in the passenger side as she drove. And this was the second time that she drove by herself, and it happened to where a drunk driver going the opposite way of the highway hit her. And yeah, so that was sort of a tragic moment as well. And now seeing how she's generally in every fiber and fingertip of what I do, is funneled through the love and the pain and the loss of her, and so I see that joy and sorrow can coincide in the same space, because of her. So yeah, being 11 years old and like losing your best friend, your mother, is not easy, and wasn't easy. There's parts of that echoes within Xavier as well. So
yeah.
just, but yeah.
Wow, I'm so sorry. That's like, I have a 12-year-old
Mm.
and I can't imagine. And it's not the same loss, but we lost our house in the Palisades fire. So like that idea of like finding your home, being in the kitchen, cooking, playing music. And also when you talked about like when you played the song or when you played it for your family, that like communal grieving.
Yeah.
I feel like part of a natural disaster is there are tons of people going through it too. And I found those moments with the other people experiencing so healing. And when you lose a family member, it's not as widespread, So I can only imagine.
I am so sorry for you as well. I can't even.
No, sorry. I'm
No,
like, you can
no,
tell
no.
my voice is gone. Like I've been sick, so I'm like, wow.
No, and this is the real stuff. I mean,
Yeah, I was in LA when the fires were happening, and I felt this guilt because it wasn't my home, right? And I could go and leave, and just seeing friends, and I can't comprehend, right? When it's sure, like the moments and the memories like live with us,
Right.
but there's something about walking into a space and being engulfed by the spirit, right? They're being engulfed by the memories that you shared and the moments that you shared. And losing my mom and losing my brother, there was sort of this essence of me walking into her space or her room and feeling her love, or like being able to to embrace the scent of them, right? And when that is gone, what do you do? Um, so, but yeah,
I have to say, like, it's so that sounds so like, not that grief is comparative, but like
no,
that's harder, right? Like, we will find a new place to live. We will, replace things. A person is much more than all that.
But not to diminish, but it's loss. You
I
have
yeah,
know.
to,
No,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
yeah, like and yeah, it's not comparative, but I mean, you went through loss, and yeah, it's different. It's a different, but
exactly. No, I just
yeah,
like
yeah,
it makes me like dread more. Like, both my parents are still with us. Think like
yeah.
I'm so blessed. Like, um,
But it's an entity, like, and not to be too philosophical, but a home is an individual, right?
yeah,
A home is a person that you go to and you find peace and you find solemn. And so is the space that you lose, right? If you leave a certain city, like, there is a grieving that you go through.
yeah,
And so, sure, there's not a physical entity that walks, but there is a physical embodiment of what peace and serenity is for you. And so,
right.
there is an echo between a person and a building that is your home and is your peace, and that you
yeah,
make memories, and that you go in and you're able to recollect. If you meet up with a friend of yours, you're able to recollect memories from so many years ago. That's
yeah,
why individuals who, oh, I used to live in that house, and they want to go and visit that house again,
mm-hmm,
because there's something there that was left. And when a home is gone, it's not just a building that left, there's an essence within it
yeah,
that leaves as well. So, yeah,
I do find comfort in those like memories of like for in the beginning you're like, oh my god, I can't believe it's gone, and you think about the destruction and all that stuff. And now I'm just like, oh, like, it's a place I used to live, right? So kind of like what you're like, even when you live in a place and it is standing and you want to go home and visit, but somebody else is living it, you're like, oh, this
yeah,
is weird. This is not my home.
yeah,
yeah,
So it would have been like, I'm just like, oh, that was my home and there will be a new home. And I
yeah,
don't know if it's like the human, like what we need to do to cope, but that makes me feel better.
yeah. It's the bitter remedy for that the self physician gives itself to cope, and I think it's the same thing when you lose someone. It's like they're gone, but they're not in their body anymore,
right,
right?
right,
It's not, they're not there, but they're with me now, and they carry with me, and they'll continue. And so they're not grieving because we walk and we stub a toe and we're in pain, but they are free forever.
mm-hmm,
um and so, yeah, it's such a, there's a saying that says, when sorrow is in the bed sleeping, like, joy's awake with you and sitting next to you in bed. And when joy is, like, laying down, like, sorrow is with you in bed. And so, like, those twin components. And we love something so much, or we're in pain because of the hollow is carved, right? Or we're able
Right.
to drink out of a cup because it's been carved out.
Right.
And yeah, the magnitude of the pain that we feel is because of the magnitude of what it meant to us. Yeah,
and even your line, I mean, as you're sitting here, like about being a leaf on the water, like, I mean, that's it, like, right, we have no control, these things happen, and it's yeah, like how we respond and how we move on and try to honor those that left us, right? Like,
absolutely.
yeah,
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 that's the essence of it all.
yeah. So we had the pleasure of meeting you at the Guild of Music Supervisor Awards, where you won and performed
Woohoo.
with
Wow.
Adrian Casada, which,
Yeah.
but I just remember, I mean, it was a joyous night and you won, but I just was like, oh, he is so happy. You were grinning ear to ear. And then now, looking back at all that you've been through and all your songs, and I think like what I find impressive is that how joyous you seem
Yeah.
with what you've gone through, but it's like it's really inspiring, to be honest. And
Yeah.
but I think because you've had those extreme lows, you know, the extreme highs, right? Like, I don't know. I've been guessing, but I
No, no,
just
no.
my impression of you was like, oh my gosh. And then knowing, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just, yeah. And I love
The
that you were nominated for an Oscar. Like,
you're so right. Like the ebbs and flow of life, and in moments you realize that one season is so indicative to the next. And if we try to rob ourselves, or if we try to remove the pain, we're actually robbing ourselves from the enjoyment of the moments that are really beautiful.
yeah,
And we hear it all the time that things happen, but it's our response to what happens that truly dictates the next phase. And I'm not perfect at it. There are times where it hits me and I feel rock bottom, but for and my community has a lot to do with this, and my faith has a lot to do with this, in the way that I'm able to stand back up again. And I realize that I need to be present in moments that are beautiful and enjoy them, and let these moments carry me on to where they're hard. And in the hard moments, remember that I've been through this and I will get through it again. And so it's, in that moment, I wasn't expecting anything. Like I generally wanted to just come and enjoy. And yeah, this was my first nomination for anything in my musical career, truly anything. And this was my first award for anything in my musical career. And so just holding a physical embodiment of we're not where we used to be,
hmm
and that people are listening and people are enjoying what they're listening to and it's resonating, is why I kept just looking at it, right? And just remembering too that art is not an island. Art isn't solitary. Art is such a communal thing. And just reminding myself about that, of I'm only here because there was a director that had a dream and a passion, and there was a music supervisor, and there were actors, and there was a lighting crew, and there was a script writer, and there was someone who went to prison that didn't give up, right? And continued to embrace life and not let this prison wall allow him to stay within the confines of the bars, but allow his spirit to fly and flow. And like all of those things are indicative to art and indicative to the spirit that we're talking about right now. And I just, again, I couldn't smile, and I was weeping. And it wasn't weeping because
yeah,
I'm holding this thing and it's amazing, but weeping because of I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't the struggle of Divine G. And if
yep,
it wasn't the multiple no's that I've received, the multiple no's that Craig Quidar or Clint Bentley received, or just all of these elements. And it was just a reminder of all of those things, of like, I'm here because of all those people. I'm here because I didn't let the no's saying, like, keep me there,
right,
and saying yes and continuing to say yes to an opportunity. We're here right now. And so it was all those elements. And I'm so grateful for you guys, of like, because you raised the voices of those that could never echo them louder than their surroundings, and that is a gift. And I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of every single artist out there. Like, thank you for what you do. And we couldn't be successful. We couldn't put food on the table if it's not for you guys. So thank you.
well, we're just amplifiers of talent that was already there. They were just, honestly, we're just fangirls
Yeah.
or fanboys, who, in
Right.
this case, yeah.
But you're right. It is such a collaborative, like we talk a lot about how anytime you work on a film or create a song for a film or TV show, it's collaborative. There are so many people involved. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how that process was for you, like the songwriting, and your collaboration with Adrian.
And who called you, and how did
Yeah.
that, yeah,
Yeah,
like how
yeah,
did that all
yeah,
come?
for sure.
And listeners, the songs that we're talking about is Fly Like a Bird, which is in Sing Sing, and
Yes.
you were nominated for an Oscar along with Adrian
Or is
Quesada.
it Like a Bird?
Like a bird,
Oh,
like a
sorry,
Yeah.
bird.
sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
like a
No, no,
bird.
no. I get a text from Adrian, and it says, "I dare you not to cry." And I was like, "Oof, okay, this is good." And so he sent me an initial trailer of clips put together, and then sort of a mood board attached with that as well. And so I'm watching it, and of course I'm profusely crying and just so moved by what I just saw in the mood board and the story. And then he calls me and says, "Hey, would you be up to being part of this and writing the song for this film?" And at the moment, it was such a turbulent time for me in the best way. I was about to release my debut album. I was doing South by Southwest, and there was 10 shows in a week and all the PR that was happening. But I just knew that if I didn't say yes, I would be missing out on something bigger than myself, right? And so just said yes, and I had just maybe a few hours, a few days to truly zone in and do this. And I know some people are like, "Oh, it only took you like a few hours, a few days to write this," and I say yes because I had so much that I didn't need too much, right? There was so much information. There's so much that I felt. And when it's actually someone's story that I'm dealing with, there's so much more tenderness and care that I'm able to give. And I truly locked myself, and I was like, I need to zone in. It was just the sequence in which the song was played that we were given. And so we didn't see the movie. It was just that sequence of divine. I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it, but there's a certain sequence, and I just watched it over and over again, and every single gesture just landed like a hammer. Every single smile, or just a indication of a smile, or indication of a tear, or whatnot, and it just took me back to different stories, or placing myself in places of what it could be, and just the notion that we were created with purpose, and we were created to live out that purpose, and to love, and to create, and to see the creation land on someone else. And then there are certain people, and with Divine G, he was innocent. There are certain people who are who get that essence robbed and taken away from them. And if you cage a bird, you deny it that which it was created to do. And so being able to correlate the essence of a bird and the essence of humanity, and what happens with that when you remove someone from society, when you remove someone from the thing that makes them be better, makes them love better. And there are some that no matter where you put them, right, that something's broken or something is off, but you find out that they were wronged by humanity in a sense.
Right.
In most cases. And so I just wanted to personify the image of a bird and that of someone that was imprisoned. And that's how the song was birthed. And I wasn't sure where that sequence was or how they were going
Yeah.
to play it, but I just knew that moment was so important, and I needed to write it. And when you have all this information, it makes the songwriting that much easier,
Right.
because you have the colors. Now just paint something,
Right.
That's
I
cool.
so
love that.
yeah.
Did you know that the line about the paperwork, like fly like a bird, or that's
No.
amazing.
No, I watched it maybe 2 days before Adrian and I both went to LA. We had a screening at the Texas Theater in Dallas, and this
Yeah.
was, the first time we watched it was on a small laptop screen that we
Right.
couldn't cast because of security and all that. So we're watching it in this little screen, trying to take everything in, and I'm still crying, but I can't necessarily
Yeah.
see what's what.
You feel it. You're just, it's
Yeah,
not the, yeah.
it's not the grandness of it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And so we see this film, and we're seeing all the birds, and we're seeing the little paper mache, and I'm just sitting there like, what in the world? And someone asked us
Yeah.
so did you know that they were birds? And I was like, no, I had no idea that there were birds in the film. And asked, did they now go back and add the birds in the film? And I was like, well, they would have to have captured the birds in order for them to add
Right.
onto the film, but I don't think so, because we were the last thing to be included within the film, and for it to marry so much. And
Oh,
again, it's the spirit of it all, and nothing is coincidence.
Hmm.
I believe everything is intertwined, and there is a divine purpose for it all, and this was very kismet and
yeah.
very much aligned with that notion.
Amazing.
That's so cool. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Did Adrian know the filmmakers, or did Dan Wilcox, who supervised it, know Adrian, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so Adrian knew someone, and uh, Adrian knew someone that knew the filmmaker,
Oh,
and so and I think Dan helped solidify like them
yeah,
meeting. The guy was like, "Hey," to Adrian, this is what he said: like, "Hey, there's this guy named Craig Cuidar, and he's doing this film, and it's going to be the greatest thing that comes out of Austin." And Adrian was like, "Sure, whatever. Like, put us in touch." But it was just in passing, and people were approaching him because he's in a band called the Black Pumas, and they're
yeah.
extremely successful and crushing it, and rightfully so because they're incredible. If I'm not mistaken, he didn't know how to get in touch with Adrian, and then Dan helped sort of
Yeah.
get all that together. But yeah,
It's
yeah, and
so
that's how
funny. Yeah.
someone running down the street screaming at Adrian that hey, this film is going to be the best thing that comes out of Austin, and then that whole motion happens. They get involved. Adrian tells Craig about me, and they listen to the album of Seasons, and just like I think this guy's able to
Yeah.
really articulate what this film's about. Especially them hearing Deja
I
Vu.
was just going to ask because I was thinking maybe they found you because of that, because
Yeah,
Lindsay, well, I'll let you, Abraham, tell, but it's about a person that was in Sing Sing who
that
was
Right.
wrongfully incarcerated, right?
he was in Rikers Island.
Oh, I thought it was Sing
Yeah.
Sing. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no,
Oh,
he was in Rikers Island. Khalif Broider was a young 16-year-old who was wrongfully accused of stealing a backpack, and so they sent him to Rikers for 3 years,
Yeah.
and doesn't get the justice. Is trying to tell his story, and they want him to sign a plea deal, and he refuses. And he's a young 16-year-old, and he says that I'm not signing something that I didn't do, and then like who tells the story and what happens to my life,
mm-hmm.
and anything that could happen to a young 60-year-old, like it does. And then uh, they finally released him out of prison after 3 years, and the 16-year-old is 19, which that is such
A
a
formative time.
formative time within a young man, and he ends up taking his own life because of the trauma. And so I wrote a song called Deja Vu, and Mavis Staples.
I was going to say this is the one that Mavis is on, which is
It's
also
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she's featured on that, and her voice as well, just like a grandma or a just that alma mater type of voice speaking to you.
And the outrage and the like
Yes,
anger
just the
that
grit,
you can
yeah, the
feel it.
anger,
Oh yeah.
just so powerful. And so they listen, and Adrian's like, I think this guy can truly bring the words out and deliver, and that's how it came forward. And I'm so grateful to have been a part, and I feel like I was such a small part of such a massive thing. And I think that film should have been nominated for a
Oh,
billion awards, because I think it's just so phenomenal and so powerful. And it's a film that isn't essentially a film for now. It's not a film about prison. It just happens to take place within a prison.
right.
It's a film about humanity and seeing each other through the lens of compassion and through the lens of grace and mercy. And this film is all of that. And everyone involved is full of mercy and grace and elegance. And to be part of that, and for my first, Grammy, like Oscar, Emmy, like for the first nomination to be because of this film, forever grateful. And that's what I want my art to continue to be about, is humanity and love and making the world a better place. And I felt that I was able to do that through this film.
No,
That's
you
so
did.
awesome.
And the message of the film, like, and what this program in Sing Sing, that art is healing, that art brings
Yes,
togetherness.
yes, yes,
I mean, it so ties in. Like you were made to write the song. It was meant to be Kismet for sure.
yeah.
And I also love in the film, sorry, Lindsay, we're spoiling it, but anyway, you'll watch it. But I love, and we've even brought this up on the podcast before, is that these men have this place where I don't think men traditionally have a place of being vulnerable, seeing each other, really talking.
Yes,
And I think the world would be a better place if we had more place like spaces for men to
yes.
You know, like, and I love seeing that, and I love saying hearing that address because, yeah, like us as women, we can like, I don't know, there's many spaces for us to do that, and I wish that there was more for men. Yeah,
Absolutely, and within the arts, and for it to be
yeah,
embraced. There's a saying that people rather see a man fall on a high horse than get down from it, and we can unpack that in a sense. But just showing vulnerability. Like, I don't want you to show vulnerability, uh, and we've seen the cataclysmic echo of that, or effect of people not showing vulnerability and not sharing about the insecurities of what they've been. But I think that a true man is able to do that. A true man is able to show love and grace and teach others how to be vulnerable. And if we're allowing people to have that space, maybe it's like, hey, I'm struggling with this or the other. But that the art is so powerful, especially within that component of, there's no judgment whatsoever. We just want you to express yourself. It doesn't matter who you've been. You get to be someone else, right? And there can be power within that. You can even be yourself if you want to be, and show those emotions. And in the film too, it says that anger is the easiest emotion to express.
Right.
I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm trying to hold in as much as possible. But it's out on HBO. I will
I
give
know.
you my
I watched
login.
it this
I
week.
can
Yeah,
give you, I will give you my login for you to go watch it.
yeah.
HBO. I'm not gonna actually do that, so don't come after me. Yeah. But please, yeah, watch it. It's so powerful, and to your point, seeing men be vulnerable and express themselves in such a fluid and beautiful way is touching, and it's enlightening. And I want everyone to see that, and to be able to walk away different than they walked in, and now able to express themselves in that same way and not be afraid to do so.
Yeah,
So yeah.
it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you use your songwriting kind of as a form of therapy for yourself?
For sure. Sometimes it's unhealthy. And there are moments to where I get writer's block and I don't know what to say. And I try to be too poetic with my writing, and I just need to say that which needs to be said. It's a practice to be present. And that's what I'm learning more and more, that I have to push myself and deliberately make the time to write, not just for moments that I need to or for moments that I want to, but for moments that I don't need to, because there is something within itself. And so it's a meditating practice. It is a form for me to be a better friend, a better person, a better artist. I just need to find the balance and the grace for myself when I show up and I'm not the best, and I don't know what to say. So to answer your question, yes. I recently read a book. I've been on a book for a year, and it messed me up because I tried to digest it all at once,
Oh,
and it's not one to do. I think it's more so I need to treat it as like a philosophical book instead of a sit down, try to read it once and grab onto it. It's the Rick Rubin, the
oh,
Creative Act book.
okay.
And so, yeah, have you read it?
No, but
Yeah,
No, I
it's
didn't know. I was like, are we going for the profit?
yeah. I love the Prophet one being, and I think I mentioned from that book today. But the Rick Rubin book is so special and
oh,
so good, especially when you need just this nice quick reminder of not letting the outcome of the art dictate the input of the art, or what it means to create. I didn't know how to speak English when I first got to the States.
oh. So you
And
were
so,
raised with Greek, and you spoke the Nigerian dialect, or?
there's Yoruba,
Uh-huh.
which is the dialect we spoke, and then Greek.
Wow.
And yeah, just I didn't speak English, and it was such a hard
Yeah.
language for me to understand. They then, like, just all they're like it's such a hard language. and reading, and it was hard for me as well. And just to comprehend what I read was also very difficult for me. And now I see it as a gift that I've been able to attain. So I love sharpening that tool. And even after I do have people like, why don't you don't have an accent? I do. I just try so hard to pronounce everything.
I don't
If you
hear
go
it.
back, yeah, if I'm sure if you go back, you'd be like, oh, we can tell he's like focusing on what he says, and it might. There are times where it's super slow, or I stop, pause, think, and it's because I don't. I've trained myself now to do it. That I do it, but there is an accent.
Like, what do you dream in? And like when you first wake up,
Mm,
because,
that's a great question.
yeah.
Yeah, at first it was Greek, but
Uh-huh.
it being English has been the primary language in which I speak in, and it's English. And there are moments where it'll flip flop, where within my dream, there's all these different layers where I'm speaking to someone and they're speaking to me in this Yoruba like a
Uh-huh.
proverb, and I'm having to decipher what this proverb is, and so I'm either
Oh.
calling my brothers or my family trying to figure out what this is, or like, do you remember this from somewhere, or where did we
Yeah.
watch this from, that I'm having this sort of thing? Or it might be that I truly need to pay attention to something because there is such a deep, 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 deep like philosophy within Yoruba heritage, and I think all of Nigeria,
Hmm.
where even if we're trying to abuse someone, it's in like philosophy. Like your folks would say wisdom is chasing after you, but you're faster, right? And so like just sort of this essence of your wisdom is running after you, but you're faster. And so there's all this type of philosophies like, all right, so you're saying that I'm dumb and I need to slow down. So like all of this is within that culture. And so whenever I dream and I get that, I know that I need to truly sit down and think about what's happening within my life,
Hmm.
or do I have stress, anxiety, what's going on? I think dreams are so powerful, and I'm constantly trying to
Hmm.
decipher them.
I feel like this conversation has been so lovely, a little bit different than some of our other conversations in a great way.
Yeah.
But we have to ask you,
Yes.
what are some of your favorite sad songs?
Mm. I, Jealous by Lamberth.
Okay.
Oh, Labyrinth?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's so beautiful, and as I listen to it, it's about the separation of the person singing it, and the other person, but it says, I'm jealous of the rain, the way it falls upon your skin, it's closer than we have been, or I'm jealous of the rain, just like
Mm.
how beautiful it is, and just so sad. um
Is there a song that, like, if you're sad, you want to listen to because it's also sad?
You know what? I'm never like that. I think
Okay.
I try to listen to songs that maybe mellow me out. Like maybe it's not too exciting, but sort of like a groove. Like there's a song by Garrett Clark Jr. called Wings, and it's just like this groove that I just sort of sit in, and it's easy and mellow. And there was a time where I listened to it every single time before I went up on the stage. Like my first tour that I ever went on, there was all this anxiety and this worry that I was going through, and I just wanted a song that became sort of this meditative thing, and that was the closest that I could find. That didn't like mellow me out too much to where I wasn't excited to go on
It just
stage.
calmed you. Like it was
Yeah,
a
just
balm. Yeah.
yeah. And that's one I love. I'm thinking of another song, Matilda by Harry Styles.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah,
This is the first Harry Styles we've gotten
I know.
on
really, that's awesome.
on
Yeah,
on Sad Song Queens. Yeah.
let's go. Yeah, there's one, and
Is Matilda a sad one or a mellow you out one?
I think it's sad. I
Okay.
think it's sad. But it's in like a good way,
Yeah.
right? I think it's sad in a good way.
Okay, I have to listen. I have to look that up. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know that one.
Uh, um, there's a John Prine song that I learned
Oh,
at Newport, and the name of it escaping, but it's I remember everything.
I remember everything.
Is
The
is
last
that is
song
that
recorded by John Prine.
is
oh,
that's it. It is so good. Yeah, it's so good. John Prine, and it's again, is it sad? Maybe depends on the place that you find yourself, that the song is sad. So maybe that is. Maybe I'm listening to sad songs and I'm just like, oh, those aren't sad. Those are great. Yeah, River by Leon Bridges is
I
that. Yeah,
mean,
Well,
okay,
yeah.
you have to tell us a little bit about your run-in with Leon
yeah,
Bridges.
which
Let's
is
do it. So I used to work in a bank, Chase Bank. Let's do it. I used to work at Chase Bank post injury from
soccer.
college, and
And you played soccer in college?
I
Uh-huh.
did, and that was my world, and got injured and started playing guitar at this point. And I was working at this Chase Bank, and someone walked in the Chase Bank, and something instantly told me that I need to know who this person is. And I believe at the time I was so intentional about listening to the voice within me that I was like, okay, I'm gonna connect with this guy. And he lived in this place called Shipping and Receiving that was in Fort Worth. Was had these loft apartments at the top, but at the bottom there was just a bar and there was a venue, and then this empty sort of container spot. And so he invited me over to his place. He's like, dude, come over, let's take some photos and listen to some music. He was a big Killers fan and was introducing me to new music because I told him that I wasn't familiar with a lot of it music out there. And so he texted me that he was running late from work. And so I just stayed outside. I see these guys taking amplifiers and microphones out of their vans and taking it into this building. And so this place at the time wasn't so nice. So it was the type of place that had neighbors, or it was a neighborhood with no neighbors. Is what
Right.
one of those things. Yeah,
Oh, or all the
and
music venues, yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So they
So
don't complain about the noise.
yeah, it's a little sketch. But I go out and I ask these individuals what they were doing. They're like, oh, we're recording with this guy named Leon Bridges. And they were asking me questions if I did anything musically. I was like, I just started playing guitar, and they're like, oh, great, like, can you sing? I was like, no, I don't. I'm not really great at singing. I just started playing. It was like, can you hum?
False.
Yeah, they asked me, can you hum? And I was like, I can hum. And sure enough, they invited me to the session the next day, and so
Wow.
the next day I worked the longest shift that I've ever worked at the bank and was gonna go home. I was tired, but the place that I would take the exit to go home was blocked. Never happened before. I don't feel like it's happened afterwards, but on that particular day it was blocked, and the only way that I could go home was towards the direction of that studio.
You're being guided.
I was being guided, and so I took it and ended up in the coming home sessions and back again on Community. It was one of the most beautiful experiences that I've ever had. And seeing a collective of people coming together and amplifying a voice and putting all these little pieces together, and hearing Leon be authentic and true. He was phenomenal. And he was the one that told me to go out and start doing open mics. Because of this, we grew a friendship. And at the moment, they were just Facebook post about, does anyone know how to play X, Y, and Z? And they were needing help and voices. And so he was extremely appreciative of everyone who came in and helped. And I was terrible, and I don't know what help that I
He
did.
was like A+ Hummer over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Saw
exactly.
something, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and it was such a beautiful experience. And we grew a friendship, and he was the one, hey, start doing open mics and see what happens, and start write songs and keep them from yourself. Don't matter how long that they last, but hold on to them.
And you can, I mean, your voice is stunning. So
Yeah, thank you. But I think then I was familiarizing myself with individuals who were polished,
right.
and individuals that didn't sound like me, which I'm so grateful for now. But I was trying to imitate things that I thought sounded good. And so I was losing my authenticity within who I was and what I wanted to. I'm not the best singer. I'm not the best guitar player. I'm not the best songwriter. And if you're not that, that's incredible, because within the weakness, you can find your strength, which is your authenticness and who you are and your story, what you've been through. And that's what's going to connect you to an audience. And it wasn't until I discovered that I now became at peace with my tone and at peace with my voice, and started to love the imperfections of it. And sometimes if it sounds too perfect, I cringe a little bit, so it took some time. And so thank you. But
Did you sing in church? Did you grow up singing in church?
no, I didn't. Not like beginning of my life or early age, but we went to church, and but grew up around the music and such, but I could care less about that. But it wasn't until later on that I was involved with church and stuff and choir.
Because it really comes through, especially in Xavier. I mean, the
Yeah,
influence of, yeah.
I love gospel music. It's so powerful, and the way you can trace pain and the way you can trace healing within gospel is so beautiful, and it's something that I resonate with so much, and I always want that to be an essence of my music, because I want it to give others that. But yeah, I love church gospel music and all the things. Ray Charles would take hymn progressions and turn them into secular songs. And so things that we love and listen to, all deriving from gospel music. Rosetta Tharpe, like matriarch of rock and roll music, like gospel. And so there's all these little things that I'm now realizing why I love something, because I did my homework. Before, it was just, this makes me feel something, and not realizing what it is. And so now that I know the history, I'm careful of picking those elements and fusing them with my art.
That's amazing.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today. You're so lovely.
I know.
No, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Truly, thank you. This was so elevated, and I'm grateful for you guys.
Oh, we're grateful for you. Thank you for joining us today on Sad Song Queens, because you always need a good cry. We will link these songs on our show page as well as our Spotify playlist.
Please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.
Huge thanks to Abraham Alexander, Brandon Marcel, and Amy Miller, our friends at Dualtone and Me Gusta Music. Special production thanks to Jessica Griffin, Stephanie Gangle, and our producer, Emily Cartham.
Our theme song is All My Favorite Songs by Weezer, and our outro music is by Wyatt Rouse. Hi, it's Lindsay from the Sad Song Queens podcast. You may have heard us allude to Rob or thank Rob Seals in the Songwriting School of Los Angeles at the end of our podcast. He has been so kind to let us record in his studio, and the Songwriting School is an awesome place. If you want to learn how to songwrite, record, or even information how to release or sync your song, there's a class for that.
The Songwriting School of Los Angeles is devoted to the artistry and industry of songs. To learn more, go to thesongwritingschool.com, where you can learn more or enroll in classes.